Hey everybody, it is Kendéll Lenice and welcome to the Weekly Voice. I got a special guest on the Weekly Voice today. Let's take a minute for the intro and I'll be right back with the Weekly Voice. Welcome. Hey everybody, it is Kendéll Lenice and welcome to the Weekly Voice with me, Kendéll Lenice. This is a show that I do every week where we unpack the week, life lessons, current events, pop culture, what's going on in our world, social media. Every week, if this is your first time tuning in, I do the book of the week, podcast of the week, what's on our playlist for the week. And also, I love to do the song of the week. Today, this week and going forward, I am going to do who did good this week. People that we know and love. It could be a random person or it could be a person that is familiar to you. So I'm excited about this week's episode because one subject that I'm going to talk about, I invited a guest to come on to talk about this subject. This is something that has been going on this week. A lot of people are split with what has happened this week with this individual. So I'm excited. I see my guests in the waiting room. We are going to talk about that. So I'm going to just go through, as I normally do, the weekly voice quickly so we can get into what I want to talk about with my surprise guest. So welcome back, everybody, to the weekly voice. All right. The word of the week is bilious. Bilious. Bilious means extremely unpleasant or distasteful, excuse me. Bilious, Bilious. And I'm going to use it in a sentence later when I invite my guest on. All right. So the book of the week, I've talked about this book on the Weekly Voice before. Other than my books, I want you to go to Amazon.com, of course, and get my books. But I talked about this book before. And the book of the week is Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawwab. She's been on Red Table Talk. She's been on podcasts. Her book is on fire. People are buying it like hotcakes. They're saying it's like a therapy session. I've already gone through the book once, and now it's on hold for the audiobook. It's such a good book. Everybody needs to set boundaries in their lives. And the book will also help you understand when people set boundaries in their life about you. How about that? So it's a great book. The playlist song of the week, I was going back and forth because y'all know I'm well-rounded. I'll be the secular, I listen to gospel, whatever I feel like listening to. And I'll talk about this morning. So I was listening to a variety of things. Typically, I listen to podcasts in the car. That's why I said I decided to do podcast of the week, starting with this show. But I was listening to, and I've been listening to this for years, and everybody knows Mary Mary just had a verses with BB and CC Winans. So BB and CC Winans was in 1988 the first gospel music I ever purchased because I didn't grow up Christian. I grew up a different religion. So in 1988, that was the first one I purchased on my own. So I was so excited that Mary Mary, loved them, seen them in concert, love Mary Mary. So Tina's song Destiny came out when they kind of did their own solo projects, when Erica did hers and then Tina did hers. And she sang it. I already had it on my playlist, but she sang it on that verses. And I was in tears when she was singing it. And I put a video up on my IG with the song playing yesterday. And then this morning I was listening to it and I only could listen to it once because I was about to cry and I didn't want to ruin my eye makeup. So Destiny by Tina Campbell is the song of the week. Now, podcast of the week. This is a new one for the week. It is Reasonably Shady with Giselle Bryant and Robin Dixon from the Housewives of Atlanta. How their podcast started was during the pandemic. They did a live on Instagram and was asked, hey, you should do a podcast. So I have been binge watching that. I just finished binge watching it, I guess late last week. And it's a good podcast. It's light. They just be goofing and laughing, and you get to know them better. And also Positively Gam. That's Jada Pinkett Smith's mom, Gammy Norris. And I've been listening to that podcast for maybe since the first season, and they're back. So I was listening to that all today, catching up. And now her husband, Rodney, is joining her. And she also had Nedra Glover Tawwab on there, who wrote the book. I want to make sure I say it right. Set Boundaries, Find Peace. So those are the podcasts for the week. And of course, my podcast, Shine with Kendéll Lenice. All right. Before I introduce my guest, I'm trying to run down what I normally do so we can get into this topic and spend most of the time talking about that, because that's been hot this week. I just want to honor my cousin. She passed away in 1988, her birthday, at the age of 19. Her birthday, her 53rd birthday would have been yesterday, May 13th. So, yeah. So that happened this week. So if you're on my YouTube channel, if you're watching from YouTube, because we're streaming live through YouTube and Facebook now. But if you want to know how her death caused trauma and anxiety in my life, definitely check that video out. It's 2 videos before this one, I believe. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month in May, which is now. And Red Table Talk had Chesley Chris' mom on there, Chris's mom, April Simpkins. You guys know the former Miss USA, who was crowned in 2019. She was also an ET correspondent. And I used to follow her on TikTok, just a bright light, a beautiful girl. She jumped to her death, everybody knows, earlier this year. So her mom was on Red Table Talk this week, and it was such a powerful episode, and her talking about her daughter and bursting the myths and talking about depression and mental health and mental wellness. So if you, it's sad to watch, but it's also enlightening, and I'm just praying for her family. So if you have the courage to watch it, definitely watch this week's Red Table Talk with April Simpkins. Again, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. All right, so I'm going to bring on, so I tried to run down that real quick so we could get to this subject. Lord have mercy. Before we do that, because I know we're going to go on, who did good this week? Who did good this week? J. Cole, rapper J. Cole. So this was a great story this week. So J. Cole, a fan tweeted J. Cole, and 4 years ago, and he said if she finished college, then if she got accepted to a 4-year college and finished a 4-year college and got a degree, he would come to the graduation. J. Cole, 4 years. He held his promise. So it's a beautiful story. I read your letter twice. Now you are so strong. A fan wrote a letter. I admire you. I will be at your graduation only if you get into a 4-year university. Go. So they show the picture. This is on the Shade Room. They show a picture of her 4 years ago, and they show him at her graduation. And she happened to graduate from Rowan University. Now I'm from South Jersey. It used to be Glassboro State. So I thought it was dope that I know exactly where this college is, this university. Now it's a university, that he held his word to his super fan, Sierra Bazarge, I believe her last name is something like Bosarg, Bozarge, but he honored his word. So he's the who did good this week. All right. Bringing you on. I'm bringing my guest on. I'm bringing him on. You know he got an opinion. Y'all might know who I'm talking about, but let me wait till you see his face. Boom!
You need to stop. You need
Leroy
to
McKenzie
stop.
Jr.
You
Hey,
pulling me into your shenanigans and whatnot.
because you know I love you. Welcome to the Weekly Voice. You're the
Yeah.
first and only guest I've ever had on this show.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah, you done brought me on and you trying to get me in a mess. You know what I'm saying?
Because I know you ain't afraid of an opinion. And I know you always got one. So I love it. And normally I do so in 20 minutes. I just go down the week. I do my songs of the week, do all of that stuff. But I try to
That's
do it
cool. Yeah,
fast.
because I heard you doing the listen there. That's cool that you give like your perspective on different books and music and everything like that. I think that's cool. Because I saw somebody else. Was it my mentor? No, 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 no. Brother, his name is YB. His name is YB on Facebook. Um, but a good brother. I think from the Houston area, but he's a part of the Black Speakers Network.
Mhm.
But he gave like three books that he was kind of reading.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
tips or three books that were really good for people to kind of pick up and read. And I was talking yesterday because I did an interview with for the author showcase and I had an
Mhm.
author on there,
Mhm.
and we were talking about, of course, reading. And this is my challenge. I'm gonna give it to your audience as well. Um, because they say the average person only reads one book a year,
Mm.
not one book a month.
Wow. I
One,
can't even imagine.
one I know, right? One book a year. But we want, and especially in our community, we want to get us reading more. So here's the
Yes.
challenge. And I saw and I think you probably know him, brother Jay Morrison from down in Atlanta, the Atlanta area, that does a lot of positive stuff and everything like that.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, and you probably seen his face. If you see his face, you probably know who he is. But he does real estate and a whole lot of other things, but just a lot of positive stuff. But he was saying one time, I was watching one of his videos. He was saying if you read an average of 20 pages a day for a year, you will have read 30 books in a year.
Wow. I
I was
love
like, I was like, man, I'm like, that's doable. That makes it doable for people
Yeah, that
because
is
20
doable.
pages may take you probably at the longest an hour. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And so I was
yeah,
talking about that yesterday. And I was like, we work out for an hour, we watch TV for an hour, we do all of these things for an hour.
yeah.
20 minutes. I mean, 20 pages. Take an hour out of your day, or a half hour, however long it takes you to read those 20 pages. 20 pages out of your day, and you will have read 30 books in a year. Now, can you imagine the
Mm,
amount of not much more knowledge that you would have than somebody that's only read one book in a year?
yeah, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. And
So,
it's deep. That's deep because I love to read. I always have. And
hmm
even the books that I spotlight on this show, they're all by Black authors.
hmm
And um whether it's an autobiography, I talked about, you already know how I felt about Will Smith's book. I talked about that.
hmm
I mean, different books and different genres
right,
because everybody doesn't like the same thing. Like I
right,
love things that can feed your soul. I talked about
yeah,
feeding your soul. I even talked about Tabitha Brown's book, which I read twice. And
mm,
that came out last year. So it's excellent. So I try to I can't even imagine one book. I'm
yeah,
at least a year, whether it's reading it or audio. It got to be like 6, 7 books a year
right,
or more,
right, yeah.
or more.
I
So I
mean,
encourage everybody to read, even if you have to get an audio.
right,
At least allow yourself to be nourished by
correct,
someone's words that can help inspire, uplift, teach you, show you, whatever, educate you. At least do that. Because some people be like, I don't like to read. At least listen to a book.
right, right, exactly. You know,
All right. So at first I have to talk about Kevin Samuels. He passed away. Kevin Samuels was right on that line. He disrespected, Black women and talking about their weights and their shape and if they're married or unmarried. And he had a lot of controversial points and stances. Although women, oddly enough, used to still continue to call him for his advice. He was a 56-year-old black man. He made his fame. They said he made somewhere in the area of $3 million doing his YouTube page, giving advice and just sharing his truth. Um, it's been reported that he used to talk about black men, but the numbers and the money wasn't there. So then he turned it on black women. So this is the thing. People loved him or loved to hate him. He still was a man. He passed away at 56 years old. Now, here's the issue that people are having and people are split. This man had a heart attack having sex with a woman. So the first thing people were saying, was she black? Was she fat? Was she over 35? Because he talks about women at a certain age. Then it comes out she's the one that called 911. They had the 911 call. I tried to listen. I was like, I don't want to listen to this. It comes out she is Hispanic descent. I'm not sure where she's from. So now everybody wants to know what she looked like, what size, how old was she? So people are focusing on that in his politics opposed to the man dying, right? So you have everybody weighing in on this man's death and what he's done. Even Vivica Fox says, payback is a B. Your karma came to you. You dogged black women all of this time. You spewed all of this negative talk, and now karma got you. Marlon Wayans even weighed in trying to say, hey, maybe he helped somebody heal. Maybe, everybody makes mistakes. He tried to be kind of on the fence to try to be positive. And even they're like, whatever, he didn't help heal nobody. So the man died, right? And now his brother or sister started a GoFundMe because they said that he was taking care of their mom. So the GoFundMe was because it was sudden. He didn't have things set up. And I know how you feel about that, Leroy. He didn't have things set up when he died. And then also he had the suits and he had this and this and this. And it's been reported that he only had $1,000 in the bank and he didn't have money. He was in an apartment, blah, blah, blah. And living in an apartment don't make you not have money. All right. So here it is, Leroy. What did you think when you heard him pass away? And then we're going to get on to who we were talking about in the text. So what do you think about all of this?
Well, I never, it's always, when you hear somebody passing away, and I'm nowhere near a was or a Kevin Samuels fan.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't somebody that I was like, oh, I gotta hear what he has to say. I never understood it. I never understood what the phenomenon was with this guy on YouTube. But that's your arena. You figure that stuff out. What people cater, what captures people and everything like that. Because what you did say at the beginning of this, explain, he did initially start his YouTube by, he was trying to, I think they were saying, and I've never watched it, so I wouldn't know, that he was trying to make men better. He was doing I guess the image consulting, which is what he said that he was. He was trying to do that, trying to show men how to dress better, how to be better, colognes and all of those things and stuff like that. And it didn't gain traction or whatever. And then, like you said, that's when he kind of switched over to dealing with women. When I heard the news about it, I was like, oh wow! I was like, really? I was just shocked by it. A 56-year-old man, that's a young man.
Mm-hmm.
To pass away by from a heart attack. So I was like, wow. I was like, and I'm gonna be honest with you, my initial thought was he doing something? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Was he doing it? Was he
Acting,
doing some
or
kind of
like was he having sex, or like was he mowing the lawn?
I'm talking about, was he doing some kind of drug?
Oh,
That's what
God.
I'm talking about. Was he doing it? Because when you think of cardiac arrest, I think of something like limb bias.
Mm,
when he passed away, he doing the stuff one
mm,
time or whatever. So
got
that's
it.
kind of what went through my mind of like, wow, that the last thing that was on my mind was what happened.
It
Was
was like it was
it,
like Color
yeah,
Purple. Remember that? He got
when
on
I
top.
heard, yeah, hearing that, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right. I'm like, that's crazy. So, but that was, like I said, initially my thought was, wow, cardiac arrest, was he doing, and that's why I was trying to, I just wait to hear what happened or whatever
Mhm,
to see, wow, was it drugs or anything like that? Because he didn't seem like that kind of person,
mhm.
but you never know. But then you get all of these innuendos and speculations and stuff like that. Because people were saying, well, he did drink a lot of the Red Bull, and I don't know too much. I know it's a energy drink, but I'm like, okay, you
How do
know.
they know that? I wonder. I guess the people that follow him maybe see him drinking it
Yeah,
on.
they see him drinking it on the show.
Oh,
That's what I'm assuming. They may see him drinking it on the show or whatever, and stuff like that. So, people were speculating, and I'm just like, well, it is, it kind of, unfortunately, it is what it is. So those were my initial thoughts on when I heard about him passing. I was just like, wow, it just shows you never know. You
mm-mm.
never know when your time is up, when
Yeah,
it's going, when we have no control,
yeah.
we
Do you
have
think
no
it's
control
wrong?
over it at all.
No, we don't. When it's our time, we don't.
Hmm.
Do you think that people are focusing on like what do you think about people focusing on like who was he sleeping with? Was it a black woman? He died, he only met her. It was reported that he met her that night before or something, or
Hmm.
she was a one night stand, or
Right.
what do you think about the focus being on his politics opposed to him dying, or is it one and the same? Did he put himself in that situation by the politics that he
No.
lived by?
Yeah, I think that was, to me, that was to be expected, because that's what he put out there. That was the energy that he put out there. Was that, so people aren't gonna, if he were just an average YouTuber, or just an average person doing well and everything like that, you never heard anything about him.
Yeah.
The even even the his passing would have, nobody would have really known about it.
No.
He would have had a write up, if that, or his family would have dealt with it, but it would have just been another person passing away. But because of the um the the um the notoriety that he had, and even not even just the notoriety, but like we said, the controversial
Mm-hmm.
notoriety that he had, if
Mm-hmm.
that if that weren't there, I don't think there would have been such a big deal. So yeah, people were naturally, I think, going to, especially when people found out, oh, he passed away,
Mm-hmm.
having sex and everything like this. All right, oh, okay, so now the plot thickens. you
Mm-hmm.
know it's like, yeah, who was he with? Was he with the, like you said, was he with a woman that was over 35? Was he with a woman that was under 35? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what he focused on his
Yeah.
show. So everything that he put out there in his passing,
Yeah.
and the way that he passed, was the exact same thing that people were looking to be able to find out about him. It's, like I said, it's sad, but if like we said, he wouldn't have had that. The focus wouldn't have been on him at all if he wasn't as controversial as he was.
I
To be
agree
honest
with
with
you. So, what do you think? Well, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about Kevin Samuels. We're unpacking the week, and Leroy is my very first guest on the Weekly Voice, because I normally just do it by myself, run it down 20 minutes every week. But I wanted to hear Leroy. Y'all know how I love me some Leroy, and I wanted to hear what he thought, because Leroy and I talk about a lot of different things, and our opinions and views, and we send videos and different things back and forth. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So of course I wanted to know what Leroy thought about Kevin Samuels. Now on social media, didn't see anybody sad this man died.
No,
Like,
no.
no,
Let
I
me let me
didn't
tell
see,
you.
except some of the women.
Nah, you gotta go on YouTube. I'll send you some. I mean, these folks,
The
the
women.
the mm, I don't know. It was. I don't know if it was as much women. There were some that were
Mhm.
really. Oh, he was trying to help.
Yeah, I saw.
Women and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
more so men. And more specifically younger men. That 20
Mhm.
to 35 year age range was. I mean, you'd have thought this man was. I mean, and I'm gonna say it like this. I hope I don't offend anybody. You'd have thought that he was Jesus Christ himself. The way
Yeah,
that they acted
followers.
and that he could walk on water and everything, like he could do no wrong. He was, y'all just misunderstood what he's saying. Y'all didn't listen to the whole clip, or y'all just only listened to a minute part. And a lot of the things he said were good. It was just it was, if you really on YouTube and you pull up some of the folks that were avid followers of Kevin Samuels, and probably if you read like some of the comments, probably now on some of his videos now too, I'm sure people have put comments in there about what a great person he was and how much he helped them, and he was right about what he was saying about women and all of those things. So it was a lot. It's been a lot. Kendall, they still talking about him. We look at us.
Because I'm
It,
looking now, like to see his page must have been taken down. I'm looking at
mm,
YouTube now
it
to
might
see
have been.
how many followers he had because he was up there in his following. And
Oh,
even
he
people who
definitely, yeah,
didn't
he
love him,
definitely had followers. Yeah, they
yes,
they
because
absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
they
because of the controversy,
right,
people were drawn to his page, even not knowing anything about him,
right,
because there were, headlines or something, a quote that he said. People wanted to
correct.
go hear the whole thing, which kind of built his fan base. So even searching for Kevin Samuels in YouTube, it's a lot of people talking about him, and y'all know he always talked about the high value man and the high value woman, and if you're not this and that, you're not going to get a high value man or a high value woman. And then they're talking about, was he high value because he didn't have any money, he was broke, or who said he was faking the phone? Like, people are really going in on that, including my used to be pastor, Jamal Bryant. So hopefully, I'm just going to play the clip. Hopefully, I don't own the rights to this, but this is public.
Yeah,
Uh,
they say it's out there. So, and it's only a little. It's only not even what 5 minutes, if that.
so, okay, I'm going to listen.
And say that you do nothing to men who have no authority. How can a man say that you are of low value after 35? How can a man say that you do not have the level of traction of a high-powered man when that man has got to get a GoFundMe for his funeral? Your man say,
Okay, so Pastor Jamal Bryant, he used to be in Baltimore. Now he's in Atlanta. Everybody in Baltimore. I'm in the Baltimore area. Leroy is. We know Jamal Bryant very well. I've gone to his church for years, Empowerment Temple in Maryland. He took over Bishop Eddie Long's church. Shoot, I don't even know how long now. Maybe 6 years ago now.
No, I don't
Been
think it's
that
been
long?
quite 6. I
Maybe
think
four
it's been
years.
maybe 4. I think it's at least 4. I think it's at
Yeah.
least 4 years.
So he left, and he's talking about, I just was talking about Giselle Bryant's podcast earlier, Reasonably Shady. But so what do you think? I can tell you, and we'll get into that, but I'm going to tell you what Omarion thought from B2K. Now, Omarion on social media, everyone talks because he's very peaceful, he's very zen, he's very, let's meditate, and he's very positive. So everyone always talks about, just to fill you guys in, and don't know, with social media, that everyone's like, I want to be unbothered like Omarion. He's so peaceful. He's so elevated. So to see this, they're like, something must be wrong if Omarion commented, because Omarion don't be in nothing. He stays out of mess. So this is what Omarion said this week. It's sad when people can't respect the family after losing a loved one. He's no longer here. Why? This is to Jamal Bryant's This is to Jamal Bryant's, what you just heard. Why add insult to injury? What about the people that loved him, like his mom? They got to see this or hear about this. This is disgusting and whack ASF. Nobody, regardless of the views, he didn't kill nobody. We all need to have more compassion. This is why I don't attend these fake places of worship, respectfully. Let's talk about it. What you think, Leroy?
Well, Marion ain't the only one. I'm gonna tell you, I was in this clubhouse room yesterday, right? And I forgot the title of the room, but they were talking about um pastors and stuff like that. And Jamal Bryant's name came up.
Of course it did.
Yeah. And of course they were talking about the Kevin, it had to do with Kevin Samuels.
Mm-hmm.
But his name came up. They were ripping the Christian religion and pastors, mega pastors, up and down in this room. Now you know me. I usually try and stay away from this stuff, but I was like, I can't. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna let people, disrespect the church. And there was this one brother on there, and he was supposed to be a Muslim. And I put in the chat about how they were this hatred that was going on, and it was about the hatred for the church, overall church, not just the. And he went after specific. He mentioned Bishop T.D. Jakes. He mentioned Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson. These big names, of mega churches, and he was complaining about them not backing something that had to do with some misappropriate stuff that was going on, or that was going on that he thought that they should be backing the minister Louis Farrakhan with.
Mm-hmm.
But these folks in this room were going in on the church, saying pretty much the same thing that Omarion was saying. Well, see, that's why I don't go to church. That's why you can't trust church folk.
Judgmental.
Baba, 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 baba. I was just like, the visceral that the church is getting because of, because of whatever. I don't know if any of these people have been hurt by people in the church, or they just see they only see these, the big church pastors that are out there. They don't, and those are few and far between. How many churches we have in any city at any time and stuff like that? But they went in on Jamal Bryant too. And so I had to get on, and I talked about, because they were like, well, how he gonna say something? Who is he? He done
That's
cheated on his
everybody
wife
was saying.
multiple times, and yeah,
Everybody was saying.
he cheated on his ex-wife multiple times, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I got on there and I was like,
I know
I said,
he used to mess with my neighbor.
oh, see,
Like he used to be over there, like
uh,
literally. No,
yeah,
like real life, like for
yeah.
real.
No, I get
He
you,
would,
and I
he
know,
would
and like I
fly
told
her
them,
out. He
I
would fly
know the story.
her out.
I know the stories too. I know the stories. I
Daughter
know
used to be
somebody
with.
that knows him. So, but that's not the point. I'm not.
Mhm.
That's not the point. And if I don't know if you've watched that whole sermon, the whole sermon, because that was the sermon from Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
That clip you played is the only thing he says.
Oh, I
The
believe it.
on,
Because
the
see, one
only
thing
thing
people
he
don't
said.
know about Jamal Bryant is he's very in tune with pop culture and
Correct.
what's going on in the world. He has a sense of humor. He was one of the only pastors like my kids would actually go to church and pay attention because he
Correct.
can speak on their level. And I remember, and I went as long as I did because they were receiving from him. Even I remember my daughter went to the altar. I was like so shocked because he is in tune and his personality and he is charismatic, but he talks
Right.
about things that kids know about. So I do believe that that was just a soundbite. I do believe that that was just a small piece of what it is. And that's what happens on social media. People take a small piece of something and then run with it, like you're saying, and judge it as a whole.
Yeah, and just
None of
as
us are perfect.
and just as controversial as Kevin Samuels is, and he didn't even say his name. He didn't have to say his name because everybody knew what he was talking about, who he was talking about,
Mm-hmm.
in making the statements that he made. Now, what he was saying, I believe was accurate. I don't believe there was anything that was malicious. I don't think that there was anything that was inaccurate about what he was saying. If you listen to what he was saying about what was said,
Mm-hmm.
it was this is what he said. This is what this man said
Mm-hmm.
about women that were over 35. This is what
He
this
just
man
said
said.
he just said this was like
Right.
things
So
that
it
Kevin Samuels just
right.
said.
It wasn't like he was taking something and making a false statement. It wasn't like he was making, something, I think accusing him of saying something that he didn't. This
Mm-hmm.
was he was using it within the context of telling women that you should not allow a
Mm-hmm.
man or someone who does
Mm-hmm.
to have that kind of authority over you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if people were to really step back and look at, like I said, like the folks that love, and I ain't gonna say his name, but
Mm-hmm.
that love the gentleman, I ain't
Mm-hmm.
even call him gentleman, but that love the male that
Mm-hmm.
that we're talking
I didn't
about.
subscribe to him. I ain't listen to
It
him. I didn't watch him. I didn't
Yeah, and it's
subscribe.
not even a thing of watching him or anything, because I've seen some of it. Just I wanted to see what the
The hype was.
issue was, see what the issue was, see if what people were saying was accurate. If and I've watched some of the some of his stuff was like 2 3 hours 4 hours. I was like, I ain't got time to be
I
watching
say,
all that.
like,
I
I
said,
don't have nothing against the man or not. Like me, if I know I'm not interested in this, not my judge, I'm just going past it. I ain't talking about it. I ain't gonna be like
yeah,
he said and did. I just go on past it and I'd be like, I don't listen to that and
but
just go on past it. But some people really were invested and
yeah,
offended. And I'm
yeah.
just like, everybody got an opinion. That's his opinion. Ain't nobody, I ain't subscribing to that. He's talking foolish and going about my business. But some people really were mad. Some people were really like listening. These women would still call in from where the little clips that I've seen on social media will call in and still really listen. So even though he had that kind of politic and opinion, women were
But
still black women, were
but
still
but
listening.
but see, I mean, here's the thing, and then I'll get back to Jamal. He wouldn't have had the following that he had, like you said, if the women had stopped calling in,
Mm-hmm.
because people would have been he wouldn't have had people chomping at the bit to get in. But because of that, and I hate to say it like this, don't get mad at me, young ladies, but the young ladies in that generation, because if you were to watch his YouTube channel, the age of the women that he had called that were on his show was usually between the ages of 25 to maybe 32, 33, maybe
Mm-hmm.
some 35. And then he would have, I think, some that were over, but very rarely. But they were usually very young, very I'm gonna say immature, didn't know, and they they were they were the way that a lot of some young women were when we were that age. I'll put it like that. Operating in that same mindset, think having the same kind of issues. The issues haven't changed. It's just there. You have the technology that's made it more open.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been thinking about this ever since he had passed away. I'm like, and I listened to some of the other YouTube shows, but you have those that are young adults that are between the ages of 20 to 40, let's
Mm-hmm.
say. you know. And I'm like, we had the same issues. We were talking about the same thing when it came to relationships. Women want this, men want that. Why this? Why that? It was those same conversations, but they weren't on a platform. They weren't on social media. It didn't garner a following. It was us talking, like it would be like you and I talking like this, but talking to each other on the phone, or we being at somebody's house having these conversations. Remember the movie? Well, I know you remember it, Love Jones, when they
Mm-hmm.
were at Isaiah Washington's house, and they were sitting around. That was us.
Right.
That was us having those conversations, but now those same conversations are being on YouTube.
So do
Those,
you think, so what do you think? So do you think, and then we're going to go on and wrap it on up. But
yes.
just so do you think that there's more frenzy over Jamal saying this, or is it his Kevin Samuels politics? So did they take the heat off of what Kevin Samuels stood for and don't talk bad about the dead? Or do you think it's a don't talk bad about the dead? He shouldn't have said that. Or let's get on Jamal because he always saying something. Or like, what do you think it is?
Well, I think it's a mixture of all
And
of
do you
those.
think Jamal did it on purpose? Because you know
Oh,
Jamal,
it was on purpose.
Jamal
It
Bryant does like a little spotlight.
No,
He
and it's
does,
not
even
even
though
about
he used to
having
work part
spice,
time. So,
but it's like you were saying, he's plugged in to
mm-hmm,
culture
he is.
and what this generation is talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and is what is talked about. So he knew he could put that in his sermon because he was trying to make a point as well too, and he
Mm-hmm.
knew that his audience was majority of those women that in that age bracket.
Cause so can
So,
somebody, if somebody, because we all do wrong, and this is the thing,
mhm.
because Jamal Bryant has done wrong in his past. He's cheated on his wife. He's done a lot of things that he admits and he speaks about that. So on one hand, you know, you got to do right and wrong. And I'm not here to condemn anybody, but I'm here for somebody saying, you know what, I messed up. Pray for me. I'm repenting, right? Or so do you think his bad deeds are going against Kevin Samuel's bad deeds? Because everybody's like, well, you shouldn't talk because you did this. Well, he did this, so he shouldn't. Do you think it's just come to that point now? They're weighing like who
Well,
did worse?
it's always going to be when you have a history like that. I mean, you could take anyone. You could take someone that used to be, be a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
They say the same thing about Jay-Z. Well,
Mm-hmm.
he used to sell, he used to sell drugs out of the back of his car, whatever, and stuff like that. So, you have somebody who turns their life around. You have somebody that used to sleep with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
sleep with a whole bunch of women and stuff like that. Oh, now you want to turn your life around, this, that, and the other. So that can always follow you,
Mm-hmm.
and people are always going to do what I call, you, what
You
did I
can't
entitle
grow.
that poem? No, you knew me. Listen, you knew me when I can't even think of it right now, but so the people who are Kevin Samuel's followers, they're going to be the ones to throw up Jamal's past.
Mm-hmm.
Those that want to make a specific point about the church are
Mm-hmm.
going to throw up Jamal's past. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with some of the folks about Kevin Samuels.
Mm-hmm.
They Because he's controversial, they're going to throw up his
Mm-hmm.
past. They're going to throw up the fact that the way that he passed away. They're going to bring that up. So those things
So do
can't
you think
escape
all of
you.
this stuff are plans to pop on social media and to get the sound bites out? Like,
Yep.
do you really think Kevin Samuels really felt that way? Or because his ex-wife is on social media speaking and everything. You know how that happens. Or do you think like sometimes Jamal Bryant says something to get a buzz? Do you think like this all is just to get people talking?
No, well, no, there's always an agenda to it. And I think that people are, unfortunately, you have some people who want to capitalize off of the misfortunes or unfortunes of other people.
I agree.
Like I told you, if he wasn't, if he was just an average guy or an average, person that did well on YouTube, it wouldn't have been a big name. I mean, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been a big thing. You wouldn't have heard anything else about it. Nobody else would be talking about it. But like I told you, he's passed away several weeks ago, and folks are
Mhm.
still talking about it. I'm still trying to figure that out. How this man's name is in everybody's mouth,
Mhm.
I don't get it. And I was thinking about this because I knew we were going to talk about this. I'm like, Red Fox, who is one of the, all-time funniest men alive, greatest, one of the best shows on TV that he had, well known and everything like that. How long
Mhm.
did people talk about him when he passed away?
Mhm. Mhm.
He might have got a day or two
Mhm.
gone. But here it is, this man who reveled in controversy, who took advantage of an opportunity, and I'll say it like that, took advantage of an opportunity to be able to become famous, and let's call it what it is. I mean, because he had a large following,
Mhm.
you know. He took advantage of that opportunity, you know but it was off of, and I say this all the time, off of negativity. and
Yeah.
and it's a shame that our society is so keen on negativity,
Yeah. I
that
agree.
as opposed to something that's positive.
I agree. I agree.
So it's just, it's sad. And like I said, it's just, like you, I'm not giving anybody that kind of rental space in my mind.
Mm-mm.
you
And you
know
know what? This is the first time I've talked about Kevin Samuels ever in my life because we
Mhm.
unpacking the week. And
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Jamal Bryant is hot this week, like you've seen in the beginning of the show, I start with, who did something good, who did good this week, because this is about a little bit of, this will probably be the first and the last time I talk about him. And
Right.
if had Jamal Bryant never said anything,
And
or
his
it's
can
part
I
of this week's news.
can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
Here it is. Jamal Brown is getting more publicity about that one five
Mm.
minute, less than 5 minute segment than all of the work of the thousands of people that they fed down there at New
I was
Birth.
just getting ready to say he's been doing a lot of feeding. I was
They
just getting ready to say that.
he's been doing so much. But did you hear
And food,
anybody that's
accessories,
down
and
on
all
him
of that.
now
Hmm.
talking about that?
It's true.
You
It's true.
know, he hasn't gotten any kind of hype about that back
That didn't
when
go
that church,
viral.
when the church, yeah, that didn't go viral, when that
Mhm.
church is down there. Not just him, and I'm not just saying him,
Yeah,
that the members of that church, because those folks down there in
they do
at
good
New
work.
Birth, they are gangbusters about
Yeah,
doing the work down there.
I
So
agree.
they really are.
I agree.
But they don't want to talk about that. That goes to what I was saying about the negativity, how people will latch on to more
Yeah,
negative stuff than they will positive stuff,
yeah,
and talk about that. You rarely hear good stuff going viral.
yeah. Well, I don't think Jamal Bryant is going to be apologizing to Kevin Samuel's family or his followers anytime soon because he meant what he said. He said what he meant.
Yeah,
A lot of people are saying don't talk ill about the dead. But I
right.
think, unfortunately, it's like if you spew negativity and your energy is poor, then people are less likely, the masses anyway, to rally behind that because they
Yeah,
feel if you rally behind that, then you support his politics or you support his opinions or what his point of view. But I don't want to see anybody die suddenly. When
right,
I saw that, I was
right.
just like, dang, at 56, because we're in our 50s. So I was like, dang,
Yeah.
it's it. Like, wow, he just
It just got real.
right. It just got real. Like he's on
Woo.
talking about stuff. He's popular on social media. Summer Walker and Ari Lennox have him use his name in a song. Like, he was getting traction. We knew, even though we didn't follow him, we knew who he was. So it's
Right.
always like, man, I was never like, good. I'm glad he's like, who?
Yeah, yeah. See that, I think that was over the top.
Yeah, I'm not doing
That
that.
stuff was over
Yeah,
the top.
I'm not gonna rally over, anybody, like, dying like that. Like,
Yeah,
Mark said he didn't kill. Now he wasn't, harming children, molesting, you know what I mean? And he wasn't doing that. He just had a sour opinion, and his opinion was, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't
Well,
like people.
I
So,
mean,
I
people want to
didn't.
make. Yeah, people want to make that statement. Well, he wasn't. He didn't. And he, he didn't kill anybody. He wasn't molesting anybody. But whether it's those traumatic things or whether it is, the some of the young women that he traumatized by
Yes,
them
I
coming
agree.
on his
I
show. So
agree. I agree.
it's the same kind of damage. You know what
Right.
I'm
Oh,
saying?
now that is absolutely 100% true. I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. But that's the hand that you hear people say, well, he didn't kill nobody. He didn't do, but I don't, it's sad when you hear somebody die. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, because even if you feel this way, they still got mama, sisters, aunts, cousins.
Exactly.
He had
And he had
kids.
a daughter. He had a
Yeah, so
daughter.
it's
So
just like, I'm not going to say, it is, I'm not going to be like, that's karma coming to you. Vivica
right.
Fox did say that, and that's my girl, but like, that's harsh too. Even though he dogged black women and I'm a black woman, I just didn't subscribe to his politics and foolishness. But, I feel bad for the women who did and maybe are now in a worse position than they
Yeah.
were, thinking they may not get married or they're not worthy or they're not. I just want to tell all
Yeah.
the ladies, if you followed him and you believe that, you are worthy, you are amazing, God has somebody for you. If meant to be married, you will be married. Meant to have someone, you will have someone.
Yep.
And I just want to encourage you guys to just keep going. Like, don't give up thinking like, oh man, I'm over 35, I'm this amount of weight, I'm this. No, because what's for you always is going to be for you. And don't allow anyone
Anybody.
to
Yep.
dim your shine and your light. And I just want to, end with a positive quote. I don't know who said this, but you are the artist of your own life. Don't hand the paintbrush to anyone else.
Absolutely. I
That's
love
it.
that.
That's all. Yes. So as we are ending, and as I was going to end with, Ronnie DeVoe just goes live. The alert just came. He went live on Instagram. So
Okay.
this week, also, as I end, I was able to fulfill one of my bucket list dreams. I interviewed Ronnie DeVoe of New Edition, BBD, RBRM, and his lovely wife, Shamari DeVoe. It was everybody keeps telling me it's a great interview. I will not watch it, but everyone was
Girl, you
saying,
better go on and watch that interview.
everyone's saying, in that it was more than an interview.
Yeah,
Like
you
that.
did a great job. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Great
You
job.
watched it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can definitely go to sheenmagazine.com to look at the full interview, and it'll also be right here on my YouTube channel today. So you'll
Oh,
be
okay.
able to watch it and share it out. And I'm almost 51 years old, so I would never listen to what Kevin Samuel says because I'm still living out my dreams. I'm still, my sayings, it's never too late to remix your life at any stage.
There it is.
You know what I'm saying? So, even if you're trying to, you feeling like, you dusty and rusty and you're going to be put out to pasture. No, you're not. You're just going to get new breath and new life. All right.
Mindset is everything.
Yes. So I'm so glad that I had my very first and only guest on the Weekly Voice. And I knew I would go a little over than my normal time, but I'm so glad that you came on and was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'll come on and talk about what's going on for the week. So as we end, is there any news that happened during this week quickly that you want to shed light on?
My Golden State Warriors are going to the Western Conference Finals, so I'm like, yeah, yeah.
When?
The Splash Brothers are back, so we about to win that chip again. You know what I'm saying? So that would be my what happened this week. So
All right. So
you
let's
know,
see. But thank you, Leroy, for jumping on. I'm about to make me a shrimp
absolutely,
salad
yeah.
wrap real quick. And I think I'm going to watch Kanye's. They said it's really good.
What
Kanye's
Yeezy? The one
Netflix.
Yeezy or the
Yes,
documentary?
the documentary Netflix special.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's actually pretty
I'm
good. I
getting ready
watch
to
it, but I'm
order
gonna I'm gonna
that.
give you something else to watch, and I don't know if you watched it or not. If you heard about it, I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but it's called Fire. It's a documentary, FYRE. Watch it, and I ain't gonna tell you nothing about it. I
You
just want
talking
you to
about the
watch.
Fire Festival?
Yes.
Oh, I saw it 2 years ago. I saw it.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay, okay. So you know
Yeah,
what I'm talking about then.
Ja Rules. It's two of them. You got to see the other one. One I think was on Hulu, and one was on Netflix. If it's
I
still,
saw the one on Netflix. I saw the one
yeah,
on Netflix.
that was good.
So
That was
so when you think about who we just had a conversation about, that made me think about that documentary Fire.
whew. All right, y'all.
So
So I gave
so
y'all a lot of things to think about. If you just tuned in quickly, the word of the week is bilious, and
I
some
like
think
that word too.
Jamal.
I gotta
Yeah,
use that. I
yes,
gotta
and
use
some
that.
people think Jamal Bryant's word was bilious, distasteful. The book of the week is Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawab. The playlist song of this week is Destiny by Tina Campbell. Podcast of the week, Reasonably Shady and Positively Gam. And I want to thank everybody for tuning into this week's episode of The Weekly Voice. Bye for now. God bless.